Welcome to LFC Transfer HQ, your ultimate source for all things Liverpool FC transfers. Like and subscribe for more football updates. Our first news is Liverpool are ready. Romano drops Marc Guehi update as Reds poised to make their move. Liverpool have been strongly linked with Marc Guehi for some time now, but they've yet to submit an official bid for the Crystal Palace captain, although that could soon change. The two clubs have been in talks regarding a potential deal for the 25-year-old, with Fabrizio Romano and David Ornstein both affirming on Tuesday that Anfield is the defender's preferred destination if he's to leave Selhurst Park, where he's now into the final year of his contract. With only 5 days remaining in the transfer window, time is very much running short for FSG if they want to secure the England international services for the remainder of this season. Romano, Liverpool, ready to make their move for Guehi. On Wednesday afternoon, Romano took to his eponymous YouTube channel with an update on Guehi, outlining that Liverpool are ready to make an offer for the centre-back, although a deal could be contingent on Palace bolstering their defensive options first. The Italian transfer guru said, "I can confirm that Liverpool are ready to go and bid for more than £30 million and get Marc Guehi immediately before the end of the window. Liverpool are still there, Liverpool want Guehi, and they haven't changed their position. Weeks ago it was, Giovanni, Nyoni and Guehi, what happens now? Liverpool are waiting on Palace." It's similar, but with less tension, in terms of the style of the story to Alexander Isak. This deal depends on Palace. If Palace can find a replacement in the market and give the green light for Guehi in negotiations, Liverpool are ready to close the deal. If Palace will not do it, Liverpool will say, "Okay, we'll go for Guehi as a free agent in 2026. Liverpool are ready now. Liverpool want to do business now, so this depends on Palace. Palace have to decide if they want to keep the player and lose him on a free transfer in 2026, or if they want to find a replacement now and let Marc Guehi go. If Liverpool are ready to sign Guehi, now is the time to strike. With the Eagles reportedly demanding £45 million for their captain, as per Miguel Delaney, an opening offer of just over £30 million from Liverpool would probably be turned down, but in truth the Reds aren't going to go in high with their first bid. It seems more likely that they'll be prepared for rejection and are simply waiting to gauge the South London club's reaction before deciding how much higher to go if they're to submit a follow-up proposal. LFC would still be able to sign Guehi as a free agent next year if they can't get a deal done this week, although that'd give the player 4 months to potentially extend his contract with Palace and end any speculation over his future. Don't miss subscribe for more LFC Transfer HQ news. Our second news is Paul Joyce breaks afternoon transfer update now coming out of Liverpool. The Spanish star won't be joining the likes of Tyler Morton and James McConnell on loan. That's despite the holding midfielder having joined a successful spell out on loan with Las Palmas in 2024-25, where he registered 14 appearances. The ever-reliable Paul Joyce of The Times now reports on X, formerly Twitter, that the plan is for Bajcetic to remain on Merseyside and continue his tutelage under Arne Slot and the Liverpool coaching team. There's also a secondary benefit attached to the decision, with the player counting towards our homegrown quota for the upcoming Champions League campaign. The 20-year-old midfielder has made 22 senior appearances so far for Liverpool, scoring 1 goal in a 3-1 win over Aston Villa in 2022. Liverpool will welcome the extra cover for Ryan Gravenberch. Obviously, we already have one available option in Wataru Endo, who is more than happy to supply cover for Ryan Gravenberch in the holding 6 position. Curtis Jones and Dominic Szoboszlai can likewise file out in a pinch, but really, we're feeling a lot more comfortable with a more natural 6, like Bajcetic, being available in the squad. The big question for the Spaniard, of course, is whether he can force his way into the first-team setup working from a point of disadvantage. Fans will already be aware of the fact that the footballer missed much of the pre-season period after undergoing surgery to correct an injury suffered at the tail end of the 2024-25 season. Big Liverpool transfer updates today. Fabrizio Romano confirms the Reds are preparing a move for Marc Guehi, while Paul Joyce drops fresh afternoon news from inside Anfield. Meanwhile, Shock reports link Trent Alexander-Arnold with a sensational move to Pep Guardiola's Man City. Plus, Liverpool may wait until the final hours of the window for another signing, and could turn to a £45 million absolute gem instead of Alexander Isak. We also look at Rio Ngumoha's price tag in Chelsea's 2019 precedent. Stay tuned for more updates on LFC Transfer HQ, transfer moves, player signings, and latest news. Don't miss subscribe for more LFC Transfer HQ news. Our third news is Pep Guardiola could now lure Trent Alexander-Arnold to Man City. Trent Alexander-Arnold could now be set for a surprise return to the Premier League. Reports coming out of La Liga now indicate that Manchester City could make a push for the former Liverpool fullback in the coming January transfer window. The Scouser only just signed for Spanish giants Real Madrid in the summer, switching from the Reds ahead of his contract expiring in June, according to a report shared by transfer news sensation Indy Kyla on Caught Offside. The 26-year-old is being closely watched by Pep Guardiola's side. This is because there are now serious fears that Alexander-Arnold will struggle to break back into the starting 11 at Real Madrid following Dani Carvajal's return from injury. The Los Blancos defender notably captained Xabi Alonso's side, and took the Lions' share of the minutes at right-back, to a 3-0 win over Real Oviedo on Sunday as his English counterpart watched on from the bench. Should the situation, and Trent's relationship with Real Madrid, seriously deteriorate, Manchester City will be there to pounce on any opportunity that may arise. How is Trent Alexander-Arnold getting on in La Liga? Our academy graduate has enjoyed one start for Xabi Alonso's men in competitive league action. The defender was then subsequently relegated to the bench, in favor of Carvajal, for the 3-0 win over Real Oviedo. Spanish media haven't exactly given Trent an easy time following his move to the Spanish top flight either. Against Osasuna, Mundo Deportivo claimed the footballer looked far from his best, offensively and went largely unnoticed. Ouch. Not exactly a ringing endorsement for a player widely celebrated for his creative prowess and on-ball ability. That said, Alonso has already called for patience as far as Alexander-Arnold's future is concerned. Should Liverpool fans fear Trent returning to the Premier League? Indy Kyla has become an increasingly reliable source in the world of football transfers this summer. So one can only imagine our shock here at Empire of the Cop at the idea of our former number 66 returning to England so early. It's worth pointing out that, with only 2 La Liga games done and dusted so far in 2025-26, we'd imagine it will take a lot for Trent Alexander-Arnold to consider returning to the Premier League. One might reasonably imagine he'd be reluctant to cast aside Madrid so soon after having effectively burnt bridges with his boyhood club to get the deal over the line. To then go on and sign for Liverpool's biggest Premier League title rivals, in the modern era, would represent an unwarranted kick in the teeth. But let's see how this story develops. After all, with a contract not set to expire until 2031, Real Madrid aren't going to do City any favors and allow one of the globe's top fullbacks to depart early on the cheap. Don't miss subscribe for more LFC Transfer HQ news. Our fourth news is, prepared to wait, Liverpool transfer could be kept on ice until final hours of the window. Liverpool may need to alter their stance on one player if he's to leave Anfield before the summer transfer window closes next Monday. That's according to reports from Italy, with AS Roma eyeing a lone swoop for Kostas Tsimikas in the days leading up to the deadline. The left-back was omitted from Arne Slot's matchday squad for the third game in a row on Monday night in the Reds' 3-2 win over Newcastle, even with the head coach naming 4 defenders on the bench at St James Park. Roma prepared to wait for Liverpool to alter Tsimikas' stance. According to Gianluca Di Marzio, the Serie A club are only prepared to sign the 29-year-old on loan, but they're determined to hold out right up to the 7 p.m. deadline for Liverpool to soften their stance on the player. The Italian reporter claimed that Roma are prepared to wait until the end of the transfer window to acquire Tsimikas, who remains a solid target for the Giallorossi, whose coach Gian Piero Gasperini would consider the Greece international a valuable addition at the Stadio Olimpico. The report concludes by stating that everything will depend on the final hours of the transfer window. Roma are evidently determined that they can convince Liverpool to agree a loan exit for the left-back before Monday, but The Athletic reported on Tuesday that the Reds would prefer a straight sale to a temporary move for the 29-year-old. Tsimikas' latest omission in the Newcastle match highlights the probable need for an exit of some description if he's to enjoy much game time this season, having been pushed down to third in the pecking order at Anfield after the arrival of Milos Kerkez, who's displaced Andy Robertson in the starting 11. Although the young Hungarian has come in for criticism over his early performances for LFC, Slot isn't likely to jettison him so soon after joining the club, so the Greece international could continue to be left in the cold unless he secured a move in the next 5 days. Barring a drastic turn of events before Monday, we suspect that Liverpool will stick to their preference for a sale rather than a loan for their number 21, and Roma could end up disappointed in their pursuit of the player. As much as Tsimikas is a fan favorite at Anfield, and with good reason, his prospects of regular game time this season appear bleak if the status quo is preserved. A big decision over his future awaits in the coming days. Stay tuned for more updates on LFC Transfer HQ, transfer moves, player signings, and latest news. Don't miss subscribe for more LFC Transfer HQ news. Our fifth news is report, how much might Liverpool pay for Rio Ngumoha as Chelsea could point to 2019 precedent. Liverpool were prepared to jump through hoops to sign Rio Ngumoha from Chelsea's academy last summer, and we're now seeing why that was the case. The Reds had to complete an arduous 5-step registration process with the Premier League to complete a deal for the winger, who scored a stoppage-time winner just 4 minutes into his top-flight debut against Newcastle on Monday. Such was the Blues' disgust at losing the teenage starlet that, as per The Athletic, they banned the Merseyside club's scouts from attending their academy matches in Cobham. How much could Liverpool pay to Chelsea for Ngumoha? As reported by Dan Sheldon for The Athletic on Tuesday, a tribunal is set to determine how much Liverpool will be required to pay Chelsea in compensation for signing Ngumoha, with the Blues entitled to receive a fee for the player. The Professional Football Compensation Committee, PFCC, will consider multiple factors in deducing the eventual payment total, including age, playing record, the length of time the forward was with the Blues, the status of both clubs, and the terms offered by the two teams. After the Reds signed Harvey Elliott from Fulham as a 16-year-old in 2019, the PFCC awarded the West London club a guaranteed £1.5 million, plus a further £2.8 million in potential add-ons. Using that £4.3 million as a barometer, it's expected that Chelsea will push for a figure in that ballpark for Ngumoha, especially given the anger among Stamford Bridge chiefs over his move to Liverpool. Ngumoha could prove to be a steal for Liverpool. If the prodigious winger, who'll be able to sign a professional contract of up to 3 years at Anfield once he turns 17 on Friday, goes on to consistently deliver upon the early promise that he's shown, a compensation fee of less than £5 million would be regarded a steal for a player of his immense talents. We're obviously aware of the dangers of heaping too much pressure on Ngumoha's shoulders at such a delicate stage of his career, and indeed his life, but it's impossible not to feel hugely excited about what he can bring to the Reds over the coming months and years. Nor is that a knee-jerk reaction to his winner at St James' Park either. Liverpool fans who kept a close eye on pre-season will have seen majestic solo goals against Yokohama F. Marinos and Athletic Bilbao, with the teenager looking fearless among players of far greater age and experience. Even before the Newcastle game, such as LFC's faith in the 16-year-old that they opted against pursuing reported left-sided targets such as Bradley Barcola and Malik Fofana, with Anfield chiefs preferring not to block the academy starlet's pathway to the first team. Ngumoha will be determined not to simply be a one-hit wonder in the famous red shirt, but everything we've seen of him so far suggests that his career will be remembered for so much more than what happened on Monday night. Stay tuned for more updates on LFC Transfer HQ, transfer moves, player signings, and latest news. Don't miss subscribe for more LFC Transfer HQ news. Our last news is, by him today, Liverpool told to forget about Isak and sign £45 million, absolute gem, instead. Liverpool will be fervently hoping to sign at least one of Alexander Isak or Marc Guehi before the transfer window shuts next Monday evening. The Reds have been strongly linked with both players for the past several weeks, but they've yet to bid for the Crystal Palace defender and have had one offer for the Newcastle striker turned down. The Telegraph's Luke Edwards reported on Tuesday that the Sweden international remains adamant that he wants to leave St James' Park despite an attempted intervention by Magpies chairman Yasser Al-Rumayyan and a delegation from the Public Investment Fund, PIF. Meanwhile, Fabrizio Romano and David Ornstein have both indicated that Liverpool is Guehi's preferred destination if he's to leave Selhurst Park in the coming days. Jeff Stelling insists Liverpool must prioritise Guehi. Speaking on TalkSport, Jeff Stelling emphatically declared that, of those two players, the Palace captain is of far greater need to the Reds than Isak, based on how we've started the season. The former Soccer Saturday host said, his, Arne Slot's, bigger concern is what he does with his defence, and for me, whatever the asking price is for Marc Guehi, then Liverpool need to go out and buy him today, Guehi or Isak for Liverpool? Or could it be neither? A cogent argument could be made that LFC need to add both of those players before Monday's deadline, but realistically it's hard to imagine more than one coming to Anfield in such a short space of time. In terms of the current composition of the squad, Liverpool have 4 centre-backs and only one natural centre-forward, which suggests that Isak ought to be the priority. An injury to Hugo Ekitike could necessitate moving Mo Salah or Cody Gakpo centrally, or playing Florian Wirtz as a false 9. However, a bad start to the season defensively for the Reds, 2 goals conceded in all 3 games so far, leaves Slot with much to ponder in that area of the pitch, and Ibrahima Konate has come in for some strong criticism over his recent performances, which have been well short of his usual standards. A poll conducted by Empire of the Cop on X shows a narrow leaning towards Guehi when fans were asked whether they'd sign him or Isak if given the choice of just one before next Monday, which suggests that many supporters share Stelling's concerns about LFC at the back. The Palace captain, labelled an absolute gem by ex-Rangers boss Michael Beale, would require a much more reasonable financial commitment with a reported asking price of £45 million, compared to the £150 million that Newcastle are demanding for the Swedish striker. That the duo have 10 months and 3 years remaining on their respective contracts is undoubtedly a factor in those valuations, but at present, the Eagles defender would appear to be the more realistic signing in the coming days. As ever, we entrust Richard Hughes to make the correct call. Stay tuned for more updates on LFC Transfer HQ, transfer moves, player signings, and latest news. Don't miss subscribe for more LFC Transfer HQ news. Thanks for watching. That's all for today's transfer update. But the transfer window never sleeps, and neither do we. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for the latest Liverpool FC transfer news, rumors, and confirmed deals. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an update, because at LFC Transfer HQ, you'll never walk alone.